configured SSH on a Cisco router, just in order to show you how it's done. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going and clicking on network devices. I'll be clicking on routers, and as you can see here, you have a bunch of Cisco routers available. I'll be going with the 2H11 router. Okay, and I'll be showing you how to configure SSH version 2 on the Cisco router, right? And in order to configure this router, we have to connect to the console port of this router. Okay, so we are going to use an end device, like we can go and connect a laptop, for example, to that console port, okay, using a console cable, right? So I'll be going to connections, and I'll be using this console cable in order to connect the router, this laptop, to the router's console port. Okay, and once we do that, we are going to open the laptop's terminal. Now a few of you guys might already be familiar with this. If you are into networking and stuff, you might be already familiar to console port, console cable, a rollover cable, right, a putty, right, and all the stuff. If you're not familiar, please do post that in the comment section, and I will bring a few more videos about packet tracer and networking as well. Okay, although the channel is mainly focused on cybersecurity, but I will also be posting few videos on networking. So please do tell me in the comment section if you want any videos over packet tracer or on CCNA or any other thing. Okay, so what I'll be doing is yeah, I've already connected using console cable, and now you can see I am running this router's command line on my terminal, on my laptop's terminal, right? It's just like putty application of your laptop. Now people, if you don't know putty, I can post a video on that as well. So there's a lot of content to be posted, guys, so please do tell me whatever you need. Okay, based on that, I'll be uploading videos, and I'll be helping you guys understand these things. All right, so now the first thing what we see over here is, would you like to enter the initial configuration dialog? Now initial configuration dialog is something like your device helping you configure stuff. Okay, so I'll just type no over here, and I'll press enter, and you can see that now I have logged into the router's user execution mode. Now this is basically normal user mode. Here you can't run any administrative commands or configuration commands. And in order to do that, we need to first get into the privilege execution mode. Okay, in Cisco iOS, this Cisco routers and stuff, they work on something called a Cisco Inter-Network Operating System. Okay, and it's basically a network operating system which is there on these devices, these routers and switches and all, and it has various user modes again. Okay, just like your Linux machine, it has a super user mode or an administrative mode in case of Windows, right? So just like in Cisco iOS, just like that, you have 3 modes. Okay, you have a basic user execution, you have privileged user execution, and in that you have global configuration, interface configuration and stuff, right? So currently we are logged into the basic user execution mode. So if you want to configure SSH on a Cisco device or a Cisco router and stuff on Cisco iOS, you need to get into the privilege mode first. Okay, so for that I'm going to type the command enable. Okay, and you can see an hashtag over here, right? So that means that you have logged into the privilege execution mode. Now ideally there should be a password prompt over here, but as it's a fresh device, it won't ask you for any passwords. You directly log into the privilege execution mode, and we are the ones who are going to configure the passwords now, right? But before that, let's get to the global configuration mode, where all the system level configurations are done, right? And here we are going to configure our SSH. Okay, so first things first, what I'm going to do is configure a hostname for this device. So I'll just type hostname R0, for example. You can give any hostname of your choice, and that's important actually. Hostname and domain name is important for SSH configuration on any Cisco device. Okay, because hostname and domain name together, they form a unique identity for your device, based on which your device will be identified and stuff. Okay, now what I'll do is, once I've given the host name, I will give a domain name as well. So IP domain name, let's say I'll give company.com. So I can give any domain name for that instance. Let's type domain name company.com, right? Next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure some user profiles, usernames and passwords, which we will be using to connect via SSH. So I'll just write username, admin. I'll define a privilege. Now privileges are something which you can skip for now, but just for your information, let me tell you that in Cisco iOS, users have certain privileges. Like privileges is defined between 0 to 15, where 0 is the least privilege, 15 is the max privilege, when say is the admin user. And in between that, like 1 to 14, these are user defined privileges. So if I give any user a privilege level 10, so I have to specify later that user execution level 10 should have what command privileges, so what commands he can run on the Cisco iOS. So that's a little bit complex for now, so just follow me, just follow the configuration. You do not have to get into all details, but fine. So I'll give a privilege level 15 for this user because he's an admin user, and the secret, which is basically the SSH password, I'm going to type as admin@123. So we have created this user with a username admin and password admin@123, and the privilege is 15. So he has max privilege. This is an administrative user. Okay, he's an admin himself. Now, once we have configured this, the host name, the domain name, and the user profile, we are going to next proceed with the SSH configuration. Okay, and for that, the command is going to be crypto key generate RSA. So we are going to generate, in order to enable SSH, we need to first generate the key pairs. As I told you, that SSH uses RSA, or reverse Shimir Eldin-Men algorithm, in order to generate a key pair, a public key and a private key. And this is important because without this public key, the SSH connection can never be established. Okay, so SSH connection will never be established without the public key. This server, means this router, needs to provide the public key to the client. The client verifies the public key, and then only the SSH connection takes place, right? The communication can take place. As soon as I press enter, it asks me that what should be the length of your key. Okay, what length you want to specify for the key. So by default, the key's length is 512 bits. Okay, I can go up to 4096 in case of SSH version 2. So I'll just type 4096 and I'll press enter, and you can see generating 4096 bit RSA keys will be non-exportable. Okay, SSH is enabled. SSH 1.99 or basically SSH version 2 has been enabled on this device. Okay, now our SSH is basically configured. Now all we need to do is we need to configure a virtual terminal so that we can use it in order to connect to SSH. And in order to do that, the command is going to be line VTY. Virtual teletype is the protocol's name, which we use to configure virtual terminals, which can be used for these virtual connections like Telnet and SSH connections. Now again, what's a virtual terminal, what's virtual teletype, all of these things, this can be explained on a separate video. So please do let me know in the comment section if you guys are interested in Cisco certifications or CCNA or Cisco iOS or stuff like that, and I will definitely come up with a video on these topics as well. All right, so for now, let's stick to line VTY command, and I'm going to define the line numbers. I'm going to give 0 to 1. What do I mean by this is I want to allow SSH connections on these two lines, basically 0 and 1. So two people at a time can use SSH to connect to this router. Okay, one is gonna use line number 0 and the other user is gonna use line number 1. Okay, so that's basically what it means. And what I'm gonna do is, if I want to use SSH on these line terminals, so I'm going to use the command transport input SSH, and I'll press enter. So the spelling is wrong, it's transport input SSH. Okay, and I'm going to use login local in order to do the local authentication of users based on the local username and password we have created here, right? So for local, the reason why we write local login local is because there is another way of user authentication, and that's AAA authentication, authorization, and accounting. So that can also be used for user authentication. But we are going to use local database credentials like this one in order to authenticate the users. So that's the reason we use the login local command. Now I'm going to use exit in order to get out of the line configuration, and that's it. So that's it. We just use 3 commands like line VTY. We specify the line numbers, means the amount of SSH connections I want to allow. Then I use transport input SSH in order to allow SSH traffic on these virtual terminals, and then login local. So for user authentication, we are going to use local authentication, right? And then finally exit. Okay. So far we have not used much commands. We have only used the hostname command in order to assign a hostname to a device, a domain IP domain name company.com in order to assign a domain name for a device, a username and password to create user profile, and then I generated the cryptographic RSA keys, which is going to help me authenticate this router itself, right? And then the line terminal configurations, and in that also we have only 3 commands, basically line VTY 0 to 1, transport into SSH, and login local, and then exit, right? Finally, as an additional layer of security, you can also configure a device password. So you might have noticed that, you know, when I try to type enable over here, right, in order to get to the privilege execution mode or the root or sudo or administrative mode, so the password prompt did not show up. Okay, so the device directly logged me into the privilege mode. So that's not good. I want to configure a device password, because the next time someone wants to log into the privilege mode to do any configurations, I want the device to ask him for a device password. So a user with no privileges or 0 privileges, if he tries to type enable, password will be asked. If a person has 15 level privileges, means max privileges, then he will directly enter the privilege execution mode. He doesn't even have to type enable here. Okay, but before that he needs to also log into his account. So that's also one thing. So just as an additional layer of security, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type enable secret, and I'm going to give a password for this device. Let's say Cisco @123. Okay, and that's it guys. So we have configured a device password, we have configured user profiles, we have configured SSH, we have configured the RSA keys, and also the virtual terminals which will be used by our clients and this device in order to use SSH, correct? So after all this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this window now. Okay, I'm going to disconnect the console cable. Okay, I'll press escape, and I'm going to have a basic LAN connection now. Okay, so I'm going to use a switch over here. I'll come here, switches, I'll take a switch 2950-24. I'll connect the devices via a switch, okay, across a LAN, across a local area network. If you want, you can connect a few more devices as well. You can come to end devices, you can click on PC, you can take a few more systems here, and that's one of the reasons I like packet tracer a lot, especially for the lab demonstrations and all, because it's so easy to use, right? So it's a very great application for beginners. Okay, for professionals, we generally use GNS3, but for beginners, definitely packet tracer is just a great application. So, and because of this ease of use and user friendliness, I generally prefer packet tracer for demonstrating the labs and stuff. Okay, but if you want a tutorial in GNS3, I can post that as well. There are a lot of tutorials on YouTube available on GNS3 and other applications, but I don't know, haven't found them that helpful. Okay, but anyways, if you want a video on that, you can please let me know, and I'll come up with a video on those topics as well. Okay, I need a lot of feedback from you guys, because it's a new channel, I'm new to YouTube, and I know I have a lot of content to post, but I would like to post what you like to watch, right? I need a lot of feedback from you guys, right? So now that we have connected all these machines, one thing is very important. What we have to ensure here is all the systems should have the proper IP address. Okay, because without IP addressing, we can't run SSH, we can't run Telnet or any other protocol. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to allocate a subnet 192.168.1.0 and the subnet mask 255.255.255.0 for this network, right? So that means that our start IP address is going to be, I'm talking about the usable range, 192.168.1.1 and 192.168.1.255 is going to be the last usable IP address. Okay, 1.254, sorry, correct. 1.0 and 1.255 are going to be network ID and broadcast IDs. We don't use it to assign it to any system. Okay, and what I'm going to do is the first usable IP address I'm going to give to this router itself. Okay, this 1.1 IP address I'm going to give it to the router itself. This laptop is going to have 1.2 or 1.3 is this PC, and this PC is going to be 1.4. Right, and now that it's done, I'll just configure these IPs. I'll click on the laptop IP configuration, and I'll configure IP 1.2 tab The subnet mask is okay, fine, and 192.168.1.1 is a gateway, means the router. Okay, so I'll again come to this PC and configure the IP address, which is 192.168.1.3, 192.168.1.1, and this PC again 192.168.1.4, 192.168.1.1, right? And one thing we haven't done yet is configuring the IP on this router. Okay, so I'm going to configure this IP on this interface or this port of this router, which is FA0/0. It stands for Fast Ethernet 0/0. This router has two ports. Okay, you can see here it has two ports. One is Fast Ethernet 0/0 and one is Fast Ethernet 0/1, right? I'm going to use this F0/0 in order to configure the IP address, because that's the one which is connected to the local network. I'll come to CLI, and here I'll type interface of F0/0 or FA0/0, and you can see I've got to the interface's configuration. I'll give the IP address 192.168.1.1 and mask is 255.255.255.0 and no shutdown. I use this no shutdown command in order to turn on the interface. Okay. So in Cisco iOS, shutdown means off and no shutdown means on. So if you want to turn anything on, you type no shutdown. And with this, you can see the router's interface is up. Okay, within some time the switch interface also will be up, because of spanning tree it will take some time to turn up, but it will turn up. Okay, in Packet Tracer there's another cool feature that you can click on this forward button and you can fast forward the time in this simulator. Okay, so you can see it's green now, right? Generally it takes some time, but now it's green. So yeah, that's it. So now we are going to test our SSH configuration, and for that I'm going to click on this laptop. I'm going to click on this command prompt and I'm going to type SSH-L. I'll type my username, which is admin, and our router's IP address is 192.168.1.1. That's the command which we use to run SSH or to connect to a remote host via SSH. Okay. On the other hand, on my local machine, when I use SSH, I type SSH 127.1.1.0.0.1. That's because I was using SSH on my local machine, like my local host, right? But here, literally, we are connecting from this laptop to this router. That's the reason we have to type the IP address of this router itself. Okay. And as I press enter, you see it's asking me for the SSH password. And SSH password is basically admin @123. And as you can see that as soon as I type the password admin @123, I have logged into the router's CLI. Okay, and you can see I've directly logged into the privilege execution mode, because my execution level was 15 for this user admin. The execution level was 15, privilege level was 15, and that's the reason we have directly logged into the privilege execution mode. I can run the commands over here, conft, I can run do show IP interface brief, I can run do show IP route, I can run any command I want now directly from my laptop, okay, on this router. Okay, in fact I can run SSH between routers as well, so I can connect another router to this router, and then from this router I can run the SSH of another router or any other device. So that's how SSH helps us connect remotely to a remote system. Now if here on the logical workspace, you can see it as if everything is on one screen, but if you click on the physical workspace, right, you see our router is somewhere in this wiring closet. Okay, and our systems, these systems, maybe they will be in these office rooms, right? So let's say this laptop is over here, this PC is somewhere in another cabin, and this PC is somewhere in another cabin, right? So, and our server room is somewhere over here. Okay, and this is the frame where in which the closet where our router and other devices will be placed, right? So in order to configure these devices or to change their configurations, I have to come all the way from my room to this room and then connect via console cable and then configure, right? But because of SSH now, I can securely connect from my office room to this router which is connected over here in this rack, right? So it's an ease of operation, right? So that's the advantage of using SSH. We can use Telnet also, of course, but Telnet is, as I told you, it's not secure. That's why it's not preferred. SSH is preferred to remotely connect to any system from anywhere, right? And that also securely, right? So that is it, guys. So that's how you configure SSH. All right. And I hope you have liked the video. If you have liked the video, please do hit the like button, and please do share the video and subscribe to the channel, and please do click on the notification bell so that you get updated whenever I post a new video. Also, you can follow me on Discord, Instagram, and you can join our Telegram channel. All of the name is Cyber with Nafis. So that's it for today. Thank you. Have a nice day.